Hello everybody, welcome back. We are going to be talking with a wonderful gentleman today who is a friend of mine, and we're going to be talking about sitting, which is what we're doing right now. Welcome again. I'm Sheri with Your Life, author of Go Forward, 28 Days to Eat, Move, and Enjoy Life God's Way. The moving part is our focus today. Stefan is doing a Love to Move podcast. I will be on it soon, so watch for that. And you've also done a
Tedx Talk, which just came out very recently, and it's all about this idea of movement, but then also sitting, and why we should understand the difference between moving more but sitting less.
Excellent. So my question for you today is, I'm going to phrase it this way. Why is sitting less better than going out and going for your hour and a half run or your 3-hour hike where you're doing your movement all at one time versus accumulating it with your pedometer throughout the day?
It's a great question, and I think this is where we get into this discrepancy of we think if we sat all day, if we go out and move a little bit, or we get our gym time in, that reverses all of the sitting that we've done. And unfortunately, that's not necessarily true. You're far better off breaking up that sitting. And so if you have that movement throughout the time and you kind of accumulate the steps and the movement, now remember that doesn't have to be actual walking. It could be you doing things around the house like chores, or even just walking to the printer if you're at work, or getting a cup of coffee if you don't drink coffee, a cup of water. Getting that in and breaking up the sitting is actually what really, really helps. If you want times, because a lot of people go, okay, well, how long am I allowed to sit? When should I get up? The absolute ideal, and this is not where you should start with, is 30 minutes. At about the 30-minute marker, you've got less blood flowing to your brain, and the amount that your body metabolizes fat drops by as much as 90%. As much as, that doesn't mean it drops 90% for everybody. Realize that. But please be understanding, I don't expect everybody to immediately think, that's it, I'm getting up every 30 minutes. That disrupts your workflow too much. That's really hard to do. Even if you can start doing maybe every hour that you take a break. Now if you're going, okay, I'm bought in, how long do I need to take a break for? Ideally 2 minutes. You can go for more, please. We would love for you to go for more. If you go for a 10-minute walk, that's also great. But try to take a break for as much as 2 minutes. Now movement is good. You can also just do standing, but if you can get it a little bit more dynamic, if it is the walking, if it is going up steps,
okay, so here's my question. You were talking about time with that. Since we're sitting on the steps by intention, not to ask this question, but we were sitting on the steps. I just thought that was funny. That, okay, if I've been sitting for an hour and I'm going to go move, you said for 2 minutes, is that at any, okay, if I'm just going to stroll to the printer and back, or, okay, what if I went up and down the steps? Does it matter intensity-wise?
It does.
Okay.
Now,
I'm about to learn something. I didn't know about this.
I'll answer it twofold. So going up the stairs, or even going up the stairs and carrying something, is more intensive for your body than even just going for a stroll, a walk, 3-mile-per-hour walk. It's going to be more intensive for you. Now, you realize that most likely you're not going to be huffing and puffing up and down the stairs for as long. You just can't do that for hours and hours on end, as you could maybe if you go for an hour walk. So in that case, it's better because it's more intense.
Okay.
But if it's more intense, it's going to be harder to build up as a habit. So
that's true.
If you're having a hard time and you're going, I hate the stairs. I always take the elevator. Don't make me use the stairs. Okay, start with a stroll to the printer. That's where you start. But technically speaking, if you can make it more intense, be that a brisker walk over to the printer, or maybe you take an extra lap and go check in on a different coworker somewhere else, it is more beneficial. You are getting more movement in, but we just have to keep in mind that habit building portion. Okay,
so to reiterate what I've heard, when you have been sitting for 30 minutes, blood flow to the brain drops, therefore clarity, decision-making ability, all of that changes. Metabolism drops, Because you were phrasing it as what?
Your ability to metabolize fat specifically.
Fat
Almost to
specifically.
90%. Yeah,
Okay.
plus.
Okay. That drops. What about fitness? When we look at, okay, somebody's training for their first 5K or their first 10K. Compare movement built into the day versus I'm going out and do a 3-mile walk training.
So when it comes to training, and if you're doing something specific that you need to train for and you have a distance, say it is a 3K that you're training for. If all you ever do is 100 meters at a time throughout the day, you're going to get some benefit, but you're not building up the endurance that you need to actually build up. You're kind of doing it in these little sprints. In that specific thing, yes, for the training.
Okay.
However, you would actually find that if you're able to break up the sitting, your training will be even that much more beneficial.
Oh, okay. Did you hear that? Because I will be honest, I've always just put it in two camps of, okay, if you're working on your health and you're not worried about fitness, then break it up through the day. You know, obviously for anything, get in whatever movement that you can, sit as little as you can. But if you're working on health, don't worry about, you know, the fitness piece of it. If you're working on fitness, from a health standpoint, you still need to incorporate, but you're thinking of it from a health standpoint. No, you're saying even from a fitness performance standpoint of, okay, I'm training for my first 10K or my first whatever, it's even going to help that if in addition to your training, you're getting up and walking the stairs in between calls or something.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Definitely.
I love it.
So this stat gets a little bit misunderstood, and I want people to be very clear about it. We talked about the 30-minute mark. The other thing that happens is there is some gene expression for muscle breakdown. So let me clear that up.
Okay.
It does not mean that your muscles begin to break down. Gene expression, it effectively means your body starts to think about maybe possibly breaking down muscle in the future. That's all that means. But the further out from that 30 minutes you go, and the more times you accumulate into it, it's like your body's getting the input of, yeah, we don't really need these muscles. We're not really using them that often.
Yeah.
And so it's not as if, oh no, your body shuts off your muscles or anything. But if you are training for something, the more times you can give it that input of, hey, we're still using these. These legs, these glutes, whatever they may be.
I'm important. Pay attention to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is going to help you be that much fitter as well.
All right. So you mentioned standing. That's going to be my last question unless I come up with another one because I'm learning so much here that this is great. So the standing versus moving around. So if somebody is standing desk for 3 hours versus sitting, and we'll do best case, every 30 minutes they're getting up and maybe they're on a phone call and they're pacing back and forth, or maybe they're walking to the printer or something like that. Compare those, not necessarily which one's better or worse, because they're probably different, but what's physiologically happening different in those two cases?
Sure. So in the case of the sitting, you're having an issue where the blood flow isn't quite there. Because even when you're standing, the vast majority of us, we're not just standing. We usually pivot a little side to side. The muscles are being more activated. You have to use your muscles for postural support, so there's constantly a little bit of activation.
Okay.
Versus seated, there's not really a whole lot of activation. Yep, you're there, you're leaning back, there's not a whole lot going on throughout all of the muscles. And this includes, guys, glutes and abs. They're big postural control muscles. When we sit, we don't really use them quite as much. So that's one piece. I usually like to kind of separate it into 3 portions as well. As you have the sitting, you have the standing, you have the movement.
Okay.
Movement is always going to be better overall, right?
Okay.
But probably we can't do our work in movement all the time.
Okay.
If you can sit and still have some movement, so maybe like fidgeting or anything like that, that is shown to really reduce a lot of the effects of prolonged sitting. A lot of times, though, we kind of say, no, well, I'm at work, I'm going to disrupt people if I fidget. But actually, fidgeting is good for you. Your body wants to do that. And then in standing, if you can fidget back and forth, that is also good. So in that sense, sitting, technically the worst. Improved if you're letting yourself fidget, and then especially if you're breaking it up every 30 minutes.
Okay.
Standing is going to be better just because that engagement of the muscles is there the whole time. If you think about it from a calorie standpoint, Don't go into that field. Don't think about it that way. It's not that big of a difference. It's more of the difference of how's your neuromuscular system behaving. It's better for it in that term. Don't think about calories in this sense. It's not.
Think about how effective you are at work because your brain is engaged. Okay.
Turns out 46% more effective standing work versus sitting.
Wow.
46%. And you know what it costs you? About that much.
Wow.
To do all that. And then, of course, yes, moving is going to be kind of the best for our physiology, but it's hard to link that in and do all the time while we're working.
Okay. Well, I've got one story I want to share with you and just see your reaction to this. When I was in a traditional corporate setting working, we were sitting, and my office initially was on one side of the building, and the copy room and the break room were on the other side of the building. I moved offices. Nothing else in my life changed. I parked the same place, etc. And I started noticing, at that time, these were like the hip thing. Now I'm old school and have one of these still. But so I had this pedometer, and I was noticing at the end of the day, I was like, where did that extra mile go? Why am I coming up 2,000 steps short at the end of every day? And it took me a couple of weeks to figure out I was walking a mile between my office and the copy room and the break room every day, not even trying to get that. So using that as a jumping off point, what are 2 or 3 tips you can give people to get in more movement? Other than, I'm gonna steal your thunder of what that's the first one that all of us go to is, okay, we'll set a timer for every 30 to 60 minutes. Other than that, what else can people do to get in more movement?
Absolutely. And I want to also piggyback off your story. I had a similar story when I was in the clinic as a physical therapist, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm on my feet all the time. Surely I'm getting in so many steps. And then I looked and it was 5,000 steps. I thought I was well over 5,000 steps. And this was sometimes even with a lunchtime walk that I thought I was great.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's kind of hard because subjectively what we feel, we go, I do enough movement. I get enough movement in. And so, but the nice thing is it can be something as small as walking to the copy room or to the bathroom, whatever it might be. Depending on where you are, you can add in some fun things or some really kind of hard things if you really want to up a lot of it. I'll start with the hard things and then we'll kind of scale it down.
Okay.
So if you want to use the bathroom on a different floor, that will immediately get stairs in. That's one of the hardest ones to do, but that if you're going, well, the bathroom is right next to my office. All right, go to another floor and use the stairs. Don't use the elevator. Don't cheat. That defeats the point of a lot of that. The other piece is, can you transition certain tasks and make them in standing or with movement? So for example, if you're doing emails, and in the morning I spend 10 or 15 minutes always doing emails. Can you take your computer and put it on a counter? Because even just that movement back and forth, all of a sudden you're getting a little bit more steps in.
Nice.
Same thing for phone calls. I personally cannot do phone calls in sitting. I need to get up, I need a pace, I think better on my feet, and immediately I'll go and I'm like, where did I get that 500 steps? Oh, that's right, I had a phone call and I was just walking back and forth the entire time. It's just something that I in general like to do. You can go and ask to have meetings while walking. You can have them over the phone, or even just a standing up meeting. Because sometimes you think that I need to get steps in. It has to be a walking thing. But sometimes even doing things standing up, you inadvertently get a few more steps in. And it's here and there, and it builds up more and more and more. If we're not talking about work, if we're talking about just overall at home, chores are a fantastic way to get your movement in. It does not have to be exercise. It can absolutely just be chores. And you can think of it that way. Because we think, oh no, dishes, oh no, vacuuming or sweeping, that's so bad, I don't want to do that. It's good for you. It's not even just good for the cleanliness of the house. You actually benefit from it physiologically. And that's a great way to motivate yourself to do more.
Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much. So I want you all to go to, what is the website for the Love to Move podcast?
You can just find it, Stefan Zavalin on YouTube.
Okay, spell Zavalin, please.
Yeah, Zavalin.
Excellent. So where does everyone find you? I know we've got the Love to Move podcast. Where is that?
So you can find that on Stefan Zavalin, Stefan, and then Zavalin, Zavalin. If you just put that into YouTube, you can find all the videos of that. It's also on Apple Podcasts if
Okay.
you want to search it there.
All right, and then social media.
StefanZavalin.com, same spelling, and then I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. I'm not really as good about Twitter, but if you really want to find me on LinkedIn or anywhere else, just
Well, and I
Stefan
follow
Zavalin.
him on LinkedIn, so I see all of your stuff there. So fantastic. Thank you so much for the tips. I've learned so much. And make sure that you, number one, follow Stefan. Number two, take the stairs to the bathroom upstairs. I'm going to start doing that at home. If I'm upstairs, come downstairs to the bathroom. I like that. And number three, as always, find your unique path and fulfill your potential.